You all have to know that, hi, my name is Linda Murray Bullard, and they call me the business plug. Today, I am dealing with technical issues. So if I blink out, don't pay it no mind. I'm very aware of it. It's not intentional. It blinked out just now. It'll probably blink out again. But in any case, I am here, and welcome to the Business Plugs Mixer. This afternoon, we have a special guest. This evening, we have a great guest. She's going to talk about some things. You're going to love Ken Hall. Like, I am so glad she's here with me. You're going to learn some things about her and about mindfulness and about all types of things. Like, she's just such a good nugget to have. And so I'm so happy about that. But before I get there, I need to tell you, building your own six-figure business is coming. And it's my 8-week course where I'm teaching people how to build six-figure businesses. And so we're going to walk through it for 8 weeks. We're going to meet. We're going to go through the plan. This is like actually results. I am so about results right now. And so we'll have the first meetup where everybody gets to know each other and we talk about business and things. And then from there, we're going to do business course, like deep dive business course. It doesn't matter if you're a startup or if you have been in business for a while and you feel like stuck. It's for business owners that are looking for solutions. And it is guaranteed to be your solution using the Kaufman Foundation's fast track program, which is, oh, there we go. This is what I'm talking about, y'all. It's going to happen. It's not me. I promise you it's not me. It is my technology is acting the total monkey today. But lean in there with us. We got good information for you. And here at this time, I was telling you about the building your own business 8-week course is coming up. You're going to want to have your seat. You're going to want to reserve a seat for that because it's going to be the game changer you need. And if you're just starting a business, it's going to be perfect for you because you can start your business in the summer, have your grand opening in the fall. We're going to get your business up and running the right way by fall. That's a guarantee. So at this time, I'd like to welcome to the stage my guest, ladies and gentlemen, meet Ken Hall. Hey, Ken.
Hi, Linda. Thank you so much for having me on today.
Absolutely. So, Ken, tell my audience, who is Ken Hall?
Well, hello, audience. I am Ken Hall. I am a wellness consultant and expert. I have worked in metaphysical and actual practical modalities of wellness for over the last decade. I serve women in business, helping them align with their greatest synergy so that they can fulfill their calling for success.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And how did this become the thing for Ken to do?
Well, I'll give like a short to medium version of the story. I'll start back to when I was in undergrad and I was really experiencing a serious misalignment. I was doing all of the things that we're told we have to do: go to school, get a job, plan to find a husband. You know, they say you have a ring by spring and do all of these things as a young lady. And they tell you what your priorities should be. And I have just since birth always been a very open-minded person, adventurous, imaginative. And we lose a little bit of that the more the world kind of chips away at it. You and I were talking about this a little earlier.
Yeah.
And I've just always felt that spiritual nudge to stick to my creative guns and to really lean into the spirituality of all of the things and all of creation and who I am. And so I found myself at the tender age of about 21 feeling unfulfilled while pursuing a bachelor's degree in marketing and a double major in finance. And so I was having fun. I was doing well. I had good grades. I was involved in different groups on campus. You know, I had a healthy social life. I had a boyfriend at the time. I was working, and I even had me a little side hustle that I was running out of my apartment. You know, where you're making the money, you don't want to call your parents and ask them for money. And so things were good, but I just felt this void. And the one thing I knew was to start praying, getting in my word, and just sitting with myself, doing some reflective thought. And I've always journaled since I was small. I've kept a diary back when I was like 7 or 8. And
I
so
can remember my
I
first
was,
diary. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
so I was like, let me get back to this journaling thing and really put my thoughts out on paper. And so I started journaling, and through the journaling, self-reflection, just being accountable for the decisions I was making, taking an assessment of the people I was hanging around, and just really looking inward and saying, are the things that I'm doing the expectations of others that I'm trying to live up to? Or
Mm,
is this really what I feel spiritually connected to?
mm.
And I've always been one of those people that energetically others are drawn to. People always ask me for advice. They would look to me just for validation in things. I'd be like, why do people divulge so much of their personal business to me? And like I could meet a stranger in 5 to 10 minutes, I know their whole life story. And so, so
It's a
I was
calling.
like,
It's a
yeah,
calling.
I was like, I think I'm called to be in the business of helping people find the self-discovery and that path that I'm on myself. And
Uh-huh.
so, yeah, and so I started to get into wellness practices, and I pursued actual certifications in wellness, and started learning about cognitive
Mm,
behavioral therapy, psychology. Why do we do the things that we do as humans? Like, how are we socialized in society, and how are we assimilated, and why do we connect with certain people? And then I started to learn about childhood traumas
mm-hmm.
and the different influences that my culture, my upbringing, early childhood development, just my religious beliefs, just all of these practices, and that culmination of things, and how it had shaped me to believe I had to show up in the world a certain way to be valuable and to be important, but my soul was not fulfilled through those things. So
Yeah.
that's how I
That's
ended up in wellness. I took a complete different turn at that fork in the road, and I've been on the wellness journey ever since pivoting from um marketing and finance. I've since been a wellness practitioner. I am licensed in wellness education, and I've taught at various leading institutions in the nation. And I've had the opportunity to be influential in helping other wellness practitioners and professionals of various licensed disciplines move into their own wellness practices and figure out how to navigate that business and help other people find that solace and that peace and that alignment as well. And so, this is bringing it all to to make sense, bringing it all to a head or whatever. I started to attract more women clients, women who were entrepreneurs, and they were seeking this guidance. And I was like, God is connecting me with people who literally are going through what I've already been through, so that I can show them how I had to authentically reconnect with myself. And I've been so fortunate to meet hundreds, even thousands of women throughout almost 2 decades, and be a positive impact, speak to the confidence in them, speak to the goddess in them, speak to the leader and the entrepreneur in them. And now I'm podcasting, and I get to share the stories of hundreds of women from in different networks and circles that I've been very fortunate and blessed to be a part of. And so definitely check out SelfCare to Success podcast on YouTube, where
Mm-hmm.
I share the success journeys of women in executive leadership, experts in various licensed disciplines, and their entrepreneurial journeys through a self-care lens. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. I'm going to try to put that. Yeah, it's not going to let me do it, but I will go back and put that link to the that you gave me for the audience, for them to try your program that you have. Talk about that.
Okay, so the link, and I can see if I can add it again in the
Yeah,
chat.
see if you
Yeah, I
can.
will. So what it is actually a self-care to success energetic
Awesome.
alignment journal. It speaks to self-care, synergy, nutrition, and metaphysical wellness. And metaphysical wellness goes back into what we feel energetically. Like how I talked about how I just didn't feel fulfilled because I was misaligned spiritually and energetically. And it talks about all of the different physical and spiritual things that occur that makes us feel those things in our gut, and how we can really trust our intuitive cues and those spiritual nudges from God to take a path that is right for us, and how we can
Mhm.
increase our impact. Now, I want to share this because in the interview that we did when you came on as my guest to Self-Care Your Way to Success podcast, you spoke to me and how I can show up even better in the fulfillment of my calling. You said, Ken, there are people assigned to you. And if you don't show up
They
and
don't get
you're
started.
calling the way you're supposed to with confidence and obedience and what God is telling you to do and what spirit is nudging you to do, there are other people who aren't going to get what they are supposed to get in this lifetime if I don't live up to my calling. And so I wanted to share that message with your audience because it's so true. And that's really the meat and potatoes of the message in Self-Care Your Way to Success Chakra Alignment Journal. And so I'll put the link in here before we're done with this talk and this chat. And I want people to, it's totally free. It's my gift. It's just my give back to humanity because I'm so blessed, and I want people to at least venture into the start of the discovery. There are
Mhm.
other paid things that you can look into. Like I do self-care and synergetic success analysis that helps people who just don't know what their spiritual calling is or what their most beneficial talents are, find them and truly connect back to that childlike creativity and those things that are going to get them aligned with the people that they are assigned to serve. So
Absolutely.
yeah, so I'm going to drop that link in the chat,
I did
and
put
I
it in.
encourage people to just open it and read it. It's for entrepreneurs specifically, it's for professionals, but anybody can benefit from learning more about, how to be aligned in mind, body, and spirit.
Absolutely. YouTube seems to be the platform that is showing on, but
Okay.
no, Facebook got it too. So LinkedIn, it may not have shown. I'll make sure I go put it on LinkedIn. But if you're watching, wherever you're watching, um, you can go to YouTube or you can go to Facebook. It's actually showing there, and it should have been showing on LinkedIn as well. But today, the fact that
Okay.
we're showing is a win.
Yeah.
That is definitely a win. But I love that because you and I were talking earlier about, the things we learned between ages 6 and 9 that
Yeah.
we have to keep us safe and to direct us. But then now here we are, a full grown adult, and we've went through all life's traumas and all life circumstances and all those things. And now it's time, I heard this morning, it said, it's not your fault, like what happened to you in your childhood, in your teen years, when you were under someone else's care. Whatever happened to you wasn't your fault, but as an adult, it is your problem. It's your problem to solve. And because it's your problem to solve, you have to take onus of it, and you have to direct where you go from here. Like beginning today, if not before today, you need to know that you're no longer under that bondage, whatever that was, whether it was where we lived, or where our parents, or the school we went to, or the neighborhood we lived in, or the house we lived in, or the car we drove, all the things that we feel that have kept us bonded all these years. I remember talking to a young guy. He was he was in his 50s, and he said, I just never got over the fact that I always had hand-me-down clothes, and my brother got all the new clothes. He was the oldest.
Mm.
He was in his 50s,
Wow.
and I was like, I'm listening because I want to be empathetic, but I'm thinking, you are left back there.
Yeah.
You never got over that. Like that was one of the things I was like, well, tell me something about you that a lot of people don't know. And that was one of the things he presented was, I never got new clothes.
Yeah. And he's still living his life through that frame, like through that lens. He sees himself as someone who is undeserving of newness
Hmm.
because someone never got him new clothes. He's still
Yeah.
stuck in that trauma. And
Yeah.
what the metaphysical wellness is all about is helping you, one, highlight it, recognize it for what it is, name it and call it what it is, and then you get the autonomy to decide what you want to do with it.
Yeah.
You know? And so I want to talk about fear, right? Fear is an umbrella. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we don't have the words, we don't know the emotional vocabulary, or we don't have that vernacular to really identify the different compartments of fear. Where there's blame, there's shame, there's guilt, there's anger, there's procrastination, and it all shows up in different forms, but they are the fraternal twins of fear.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and that's something that I learned throughout this wellness journey and this whole holistic living journey, that a lot of the times when we are still stuck, our mind is in this loop from 8 years old, 9 years
Yeah,
old, 10
yeah.
years old, 15. You know, we remember when you know, somebody didn't like us back in high school, or we remember when that teacher was mean to us. We remember, you know, that parent that rejected us, or that parent that was totally absent. Or, you know, we could have grown up in a 2-parent home, but one was always working, or
Yeah.
maybe alcoholism, or maybe some other form of abuse. I won't get too deep into that, because
Right.
that's something we definitely need to unpack within a safe therapeutic space.
Mm-hmm.
But we get caught up in those loops. And like you said, you were talking about I think you said the elephant or the horse with the plastic chair.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That
That's
that,
what,
that imagery, that imagery says
yeah,
everything to me about us being held by something that's not even able to hold us.
it's not even
Like,
able to hold us. It's that stronghold is so imaginary, but
mm,
it shows you the capacity for the
yes,
power that you have within your mind.
yes,
Literally something that isn't physically withholding you or blocking you from living to your fullest potential has such a strong spiritual and mental hold that it doesn't even need physical change to keep you from living out your full potential. But it
and that's
shows you
right.
on that opposite equal side how really strong your mind is,
Mm-hmm.
in that if you use your imagination and your thoughts and the way you speak to yourself, and the loop that you constantly go and you tell yourself, if you use it to say, I'm empowered, I can do what I want, I'm God's child, I have an amazing calling on my life, I can
Yeah,
fulfill greatness, people are excited to hear what it is that I want to offer to the world. And we change that language and we look at it from the opposite equal grand amazing side of it, the part that God
absolutely.
created us to come here and, you know, live in our fullness of. You can literally imagine that you flew to the stars, and then one day you might get on a spaceship, and you might go up there with Katy Perry and Gail and all them other
Exactly.
folks who were just out of space, you know?
Absolutely. I love
Yeah.
that. I mean, it's recognizing, back when I first wrote my book, I called it The Power of Choice. Like
Yeah.
every day we're presented with a power of choice. But I've met people, and myself too, not to exclude me, but I was like 39 before I started even getting a tinge of, hey, the whisper, you can change this. Like, hey, you can change this. Hey, you don't have to go along with this. Like I was 39. I put this piercing in my ear to remind me of that day when I actually became free.
Yeah.
Like the bonds start falling off, all the chains, all the things that had held me back. Writing the book, purging those emotions, putting them out there outside of me, because carrying them around, they were too heavy. And what I noticed is once I released those things that were bothering me, those things that I kept left aside and didn't talk to anybody about them. Once I
Yeah.
released those things into the universe and put them out there, then I was able to make room for new experiences and new opportunities that I controlled.
Yeah.
Like that right there was so therapeutic. It took me
Yeah.
7 years to write that book.
Wow. And I love the point that you made about freeing up that space for new experiences.
Yeah.
Um, I had a friend who um that I met while traveling. So I've been very fortunate to where wellness practice and just different endeavors for business have granted me the opportunity to travel globally. And I met a colleague at a conference that we were at. And when I tell you, this was one of the most amazing work conferences that I had ever been at. I was in a country I had never been to. I was having a great time. I was trying all the food. I was doing adventurous stuff that I had never done. I was like, who am I? Like, who is this
Who is
person,
this?
right? Yeah. And on that opposite end, one of our colleagues was just down in the dumps to
Mm,
where he didn't even realize all of the life and the fun and
mm.
all of these. I mean, there were so many things that the company was paying for us to do that most of us were like, we are going to have fun on the company dime while we can. You know, they gave us our daily stipends to go out and have some adventure, get the things that we need, the lessons, network, meet people. He was so immersed in this dark cloud of
Mm,
some drama that he brought from home
mm.
that literally everybody who was having fun was kind of like, well, we want to go do this, but we don't want to invite such and such. You know how that kind of happens.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
because you don't
because
want to damper. Yeah,
yeah, because he was like literally raining on the parade. And
absolutely.
so I'm using that example not to judge him, but to say that you could literally physically be sitting in the sunniest, brightest, most blessed and abundant place, but you will not even notice all of the blessings, the opportunities, and the abundance sitting right in arm's reach from you because your mind is stuck in a
It's
dark
stuck.
place.
Absolutely. Yeah, and there is research that says that being 75 feet, right? That's a great distance. But
Yeah,
being 75 feet from positivity will rub off on you. Like
yeah,
being within a certain parameter of positivity rubs off on you. But if you hang around people who are negative, that rubs off on you too.
yeah,
And if you're negative, like if it's close enough, this is in your, it's doing, the reframing, spinning in your mind. Like we can get away from people, but we can't get away from here. And so
mm,
if you're replaying hurt and pain and shame and all the things that have kept you from being who you were meant to be, that is really keeping you locked in and keeping you distracted, and that is the desire of the enemy. That is not the desire of the Most High, because he wants us to be all that he created us to be. And
yeah,
if we're stuck in that spin, if we're stuck in those dark cloud emotions you talked about, if we're stuck there, then we're being distracted and we're ineffective.
absolutely. Yeah, the one thing that the word says is that God is love, and that God
Absolutely.
always said that the things right after they were created, that this is good.
Yeah, this
So
is good.
I always like to use that comparison. If you are not experiencing love, like that joyful, not happiness, that impenetrable joy, that means no matter
Yeah,
what's going on around you at the beginning of the day and at the end of the day, you have gratitude for your
abs-
experience. That is
absolutely.
love, that is joy.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
if you can't find a single good thing and what's going on around you, then it is not of God. That is not tied to your destiny. That is not tied
Absolutely.
to the blessings of God. That is not tied to the fullness of life and fulfillment that you can be enjoying. And I know a lot of people are like, well, you are one of those optimists. You're one of those people, you're so crazy, you think everything is positive, but it can be because it's a choice.
It's a
Um,
frame of mind. It's
it
a
is.
frame of mind that
It's
you
a
get,
friend
that
of mine.
you control, that you get to
Absolutely.
control.
Yeah, and we always forget that God granted us free will until we're talking about going down the less moral path. You know,
Mm.
people always like to speak about free. Well, I don't want to be exercising my free will because I don't want to sin and I don't want to do. Well, you also have the free will to just be good.
That's a part of it. I know.
Yeah.
But
You
the
also
free
have the free
will is
will to
always,
just be happy. You also
yeah,
have the free will to just be nice to people.
yeah.
You
You
know?
also, right, absolutely. It is a state of mind. It is a state of
Yeah.
mind. And I get, and so let me throw this in here, because my DNA has mental health issues.
Yeah.
My DNA does. Like there are experiences and things that have happened along my DNA that shows that it's there. And
Yeah.
so I suffer from depression. There are times when I am deeply depressed. I
Yeah.
give myself 24 hours. Like I
Absolutely.
I, I want to feel all this me, right? And I know that it's not what's wrong with me. It's just I need to isolate for a minute so I can get myself together. And I
Absolutely.
understanding me, understand once I had a diagnosis and understood that diagnosis and what the the pros and cons of it and how to manage it instead of allowing it to manage me. Once I understood that, then hey, I'm good. I'm good. And so, take the 24 that I need to get whatever that is to deal with that. Well, I'm back because it can't whoop me once I know what it is. Like I
Yeah.
know it's a temporary state of mind and it will pass. I go sit in the sun. Like I need
Yeah.
to do some self-care to get me back to where I need to be. It's a part of who I am. It was a part of my grandmother. I posted yesterday, last day of May, because May was Mental Health Awareness Month.
Yes.
And I posted about my grandmother that, the only picture we have of her is her mugshot from the day that she shot our grandfather.
Oh
Like that's the
wow.
only picture we have her of her existence, period. But she was undiagnosed and untreated.
Yeah.
And while the bulk of that is on her, but I think it also speaks to the people around her.
Yeah.
Because somebody should have been in her ear saying, hey, 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 this is not good. Let's go find us some help. And my brother, for 29 years, I was my brother's keeper because my brother had those illnesses she had. And I was bound and determined not to allow him, not to allow his fate to be like hers. You
Absolutely.
know,
That's
be,
beautiful. Yeah.
be- yeah, because people, oh, you're crazy. Oh, she always talked that way. Oh, this and that, the other. I refuse to accept that
Yeah.
because the things that we don't talk about, the things that we have been taught to put aside, and what goes in the house, stay in the house, and all those things that keep us locked in and
Yeah.
controlled. I am an advocate for allowing people who, yes, mental illness is your diagnosis, but it is not your prognosis for the rest of your life. Like
Yeah.
my brother got
Let
to
us.
have great days. Absolutely. Absolutely. He got to have great days. He got to laugh and he lived by himself and rocked his life the way he wanted to. That to me was bigger than anything else. Like we have to understand who we are, good, bad, and indifferent, whatever that is. But like you were saying, we have free will and we
Yeah.
can make the decision that in spite of, we can be
Yeah.
who we want to be.
Absolutely. And um I love that you talked about the things that were you have dealt with and that have found you generationally, that
Hmm.
is in your DNA. I think
Yeah.
a lot of people don't realize, especially us of the Western world, all of the trauma and the way that the things are set up, societal, the societal pressures, the societal biases, the prejudices, and just people of all different walks of life that they
Oh,
get,
yeah.
the minoritized groups of people who get certain treatments. Everybody, even those who we consider the oppressors, they even have certain psychological and spiritual traumas that are embedded in their DNA on a cellular level.
Absolutely.
And we are carrying the DNA of 10,000 ancestors with us for a
Okay.
lifetime. Okay.
Absolutely.
So you have to think about compress 10,000 traumas of 10,000 people down into every cell in our body. We have to do that work. We have to
You have to
use
do the
our
work.
free will to do the spiritual work, do the metaphysical work. And like you were talking about, that go back to what happens in the house, it stays in the house. That's under that umbrella of the guilt, the
Hmm.
fear, the shame, because you don't want to embarrass your family. You
Hmm.
don't want the people that take care of you look bad. But
Yeah.
at what cost,
Absolutely.
At
Absolutely.
what cost?
Because if you're not going to be the curse breaker, then you become the curse passer.
Exactly.
And you pass it down to your kids. And they pass
Exactly.
it down to their kids. And it
Yeah.
continues to grow and it continues to kill in your family. Kill
Yeah.
spirits, kill hope, kills dreams. Like, and I don't want that. I want my boys to be all they can be. I want my grandchildren to reach high, go high. And I want my great grandchildren to go even higher than them. Like I don't want to be the peg in the car that stops everything from moving forward.
Yeah.
Like
That's
who
one.
wants to be that person?
Yeah, you don't. And we can decide that we have had enough at any age.
That's
at
it. The power of
any
choice.
age. Because
That's
you were
it.
speaking about 39. I want to tell people this about me. I was within a decade of my wellness practices and making positive influence on other people's lives. And I still had to sit with myself at that desk at another full circle moment in my life and say, well, where am I denying myself fulfillment at this phase?
Mm.
Even after those lessons back when I was 20. Okay, now I'm in my 30s and I'm in institutional education and I feel a calling to fill a bigger space. I've
Mm.
outgrown the space that I'm filling. These shoes that I'm filling, they're getting tight. I'm starting to get
Mm.
corns on my toes. so I need a new pair of shoes to get to walk in my path. And so
I love it.
I remember sitting at my desk and I just had this desire to travel and to connect more with women and step outside of just serving people in the way that I was. And I wanted to have a greater impact. And so, not that the impact that I had already made wasn't special or wasn't
Right,
good,
right.
but I felt that I could do more and that I would be leaving something
That.
on the table if I didn't fulfill that. And so, guess what was keeping me at that desk? The fear, the blame, and the shame of disappointing the people who were
Mm.
all dependent upon me at that stage and the service that I offered in that space. So I
Absolutely.
had to recognize it as another type of fear. I have a fear of disappointing those people who have compartmentalized me into this being my identity. I'm
Mm.
afraid to step out of this identity because all of my importance and all of everything that I've accomplished up into this age is tied to that. But
Yeah.
who does it serve? If I've already served these people, I'm not fulfilling my assignment to the other
Absolutely.
people that are assigned to me.
That right there. That part
That
right
right
there.
there.
Brought it right
That
back.
right.
You
And
brought it right back.
I had to beat the fear. I had to get that plastic chair off from around my ankle. I had to get those imaginary chains from
Yeah.
around my hands and feet. And I had to say, Ken, some people are going to be disappointed because they won't have the same access and use of you like they have had in the past, but you have served these people well.
Yes.
You have done your due
Yes.
diligence. You have
Yes.
showed up in your fullness. I've emptied my cup many a times. Now it's time for me
Absolutely.
to go and fill it back up and pour from my overflow into the other people who need to be nourished and poured
That part
into
right
what
there.
it is that
Yes.
God has granted me to be able to share with people. And that's where self-care to success came from. It came from me fulfilling a greater calling and shedding another layer of fear. I like to say that we as people, as we grow through these different stages of life and these different ages, we're like an onion. We're like that
Mm.
onion with all those layers, you
Mm.
know? And you know how onions do? They sit in the store on the shelf, right? But the outside layer starts to get beat up and tarnished, and it
Yeah.
starts to get dull, and then you see the leaves wilting. But if you cut back that layer, there's such a beautiful new layer of
Exactly.
onion underneath there with the strong smell. As soon as you cut it, it'll make your eyes water. It's
I
full of
love
its
it.
essence. Yeah, it's so
Absolutely.
full of its essence. And we are like onions in each decade or each year or each layer of our life. As it's time for us to shed that old skin, if you're never too old, you never have too many layers to shed. And once you get the courage to shed that layer and shed that fear, oh my goodness, it's such a new, full of life, totally just new version of yourself in that new layer.
I love it. And
Yeah.
so as we close, what do you want the people that's watching this interview to take away from it?
What I would love for the people in the interview to take away from this, I was definitely the link. Definitely make sure you
Mhm.
tap the link because the Self-Care Your Way to Success Synergy Alignment Journal, it's for you. If you feel that calling, it is your free entry pass into peeling that layer, to
I
getting
love
over that fear. I want you to take a look at it, read through it, and take yourself seriously enough to answer that calling and to pay attention to that spiritual nudge that there's more fulfillment and there's more
it.
joy, and you're not too old to peel back an old layer. But also, I want people to realize that all of the fear that we experience is only in our minds. And we feel physically, unable to move or unable to do things because our minds are so powerful. If we tap into the positive side of that power, we literally can create a residual impact. And it's okay to change and be something different. And yes, you are going to disappoint some people because change is scary and people are currently benefiting from the old version of you. But think about all of those who are going to benefit from the new version. And
Absolutely.
that's what I want to leave people with. Yeah.
At least 10,000. At least.
At least 10,000. At least I gotta go out and find my 10,000.
Absolutely. At least 10,000. Absolutely. Yes. My name is Linda Murray Bullard. They call me the business plug, and I just plugged you in to Ken Hall in Self-Care to Success. Catch her podcast wherever it is. You have links to it wherever you're watching this, and follow us. Click the bell and follow us so you'll know that we're on. We come on Sundays at 7 p.m. Eastern time here on the Business Plugs Mixer. So you all have a great week. I hope you've enjoyed the conversation, and we'll see you next week. Have a great one, you all.
Yes. Good night, everybody. Thank you, Linda.